Yeah,
Yeah,
looks nice, eh?
it looks awesome.
They really took their time lining everything up and
Yeah,
getting these things done.
it was curious to see it. So
Okay, we're live.
Next year, they're gonna finish up the
Thank you,
stairs.
Shara.
love it.
So we'll just do a quick roll call. Online, we have Shara from the city and Nick and Lovely joining us online. In the office or in the boardroom here, we have Jeff, Alana from the city, Richard, Tracy, Dawn, Kevin, Lawrence, myself, and then also joining from the city is Travis and Josh. Did everyone have a chance to review the minutes from the August 22nd board meeting? Any questions, comments, or concerns? And if not, I'll ask for someone to move those minutes, Lauren. And a seconder, Dawn, all in favor of those minutes? And those have carried. I didn't see an email with any declaration of pecuniary interest. Has anything else come up? Okay, so Travis, I will turn it over to you to start our tourism overview and update.
Sure. I'm just going to give a brief one here. Couple key points. We just signed, I know the last meeting we discussed the bookkeeping services. We did receive quotes on that. And I know it's part of the financial update, but I can say it anyways. We were able to secure a vendor, so we've going forward with sort of luck bookkeeping services. And Richard, you and I are going to have a conversation shortly about timelines and transfers and whatnot. Christine Pascal's away till October 31st, so we're looking at maybe starting January 1, but I want to have that conversation with you. So we've got that waterfront design plan. So we went out for RFP on the design services for that. It closes tomorrow at 4:30. So we've had quite a bit of interest. A lot of consultants have reached out and are expressed interest to provide bids. So I'm looking forward to receiving those, and we'll do a thorough review and then kickstart that hopefully no later than November. The other one, and I appreciate it's elsewhere on the agenda, but the management agreement, we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. We've got a final version, which there's a resolution on today authorizing Richard and Beverly to sign it. I will be bringing a council report, which will be uploaded tomorrow to the October 30th City Council meeting to get their authorization to sign it, and then hopefully shouldn't be any issues there, given that it's just largely resurfacing of the previous agreement with the removal of the financial support that the city had originally offered. Beyond that, we're doing fairly well in terms of our overall mat collections. We've got a medium-sized hotel that hasn't reported, I think, for since May, and a larger hotel that was behind reporting recently. So the numbers are a little lacking, but I think the bigger piece is we know that the occupancy rates have been down. I think it was about 5% in July and roughly 4% in August. So it's great to see the additional mat collection, but obviously we need some work to be done to kind of continue to increase those occupancy rates. So
it's a province-wide decline.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which we expected.
Exactly.
coming out of-
yeah, we've been having a lot of conversations on our end, and they've been doing a lot of analyzations just across the board.
Mhm.
It's a hard thing.
Yeah.
We're all closed into.
Yeah, in the
It's
thing.
far overshadowed by the 10 to 15% growth in ADR. So
That's true.
Yeah.
we could have got the 4% if we wanted it.
Yeah.
We didn't want it. We pushed rates,
Yeah,
which was
Perfect.
is just as good for the math
Yeah.
as the 4% policy.
yeah.
Good. The other one, I'm just like fast tracking the agenda here, is Deloitte and the management, the strat plan. We're going to be sending out, we're just waiting to confirm with Deloitte, but we'd like to wrap it up soon and have them present the week of October 30th. If that makes sense. So we've got a meeting, Elena and I have a meeting with them this afternoon. Just pushing some of the final recommendations, and hopefully, we'll get that turned around pretty quick.
Before we leave the matching is Ontario has come out with the increase for us. It's really quite small, which is based on Ontario. It's 0.7%. So the number that we had for 2022 was 763 and change.
Yeah,
So that would go up by just 0.7% for us. And the rest will go into the two buckets that you say.
yeah, and we'll share those calculations that finance is just prepping right now. So I'll share those with you, so you can take a look. And then based on that, we'll be bringing, staff will bring a suggested budget at our next meeting, the November meeting for 2024. So,
We're seeing rate way ahead. Problems.
yeah, which is great to see. So hopefully we can capture, I know we had a lot of interprovincial travel kind of heading elsewhere, around the country or into the States, and hopefully we can kind of make up some of that next year with more US visitation. So yeah, that's about it.
Meeting is.
Yeah, we're done.
For the recap.
I will do that.
Yeah, Josh, do you know everybody around this table? If not, I'll take a quick minute and introduce Josh Ingram. He's our sports tourism area coordinator, and he's gonna provide a quick update on the sports mixer that we hosted last month. As part of a biannual way to try and attract more sports tournaments to the community.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I know I've at least shook everybody's hand. The mixer is great, especially during a biannual. Gives the opportunity to engage different groups that might not be available, say if we were to run in June or run in September. So we definitely get a different crowd that comes out to them, which is really beneficial and gives us the opportunity to talk about things that are a little more prescient to those sports groups. But we had 42 people out mid-September. It was a great turnout. What I really liked seeing is that there was a diverse group of sports. So we have our core 4 sports that show up, but we also have, some sports that are kind of newer to say Northern Ontario, like cricket, for instance. And, our cricket team's been doing an amazing run. They're, but we also had, the female college hockey that was out that had a 100%, win through their season as well. So, but it's good to have those conversations and kind of gauge what those different groups are. So we had inside of the component, we went through the Tourism Development Fund and what's available to them and how Tourism Sault Ste. Marie can support them, as well as Taylor Wright from the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Committee joined us and gave a quick presentation on funding that could also support them in tandem. So that was great. On top of that, we ran a survey to try and grab some data points from these groups. Have you hosted? What are your limitations to hosting? Are there anything inside of your, local sports groups where you see those opportunities for hosting? And if not, what do you need to be supported? So out of that survey data, I think it's fair to say that we have 4 to 6 really good leads in regards to anything from, a provincial OVA wrestling bid all the way down to, disc golf or touch football. So it runs the gambit. So we're trying to assess with those groups what the path forward is. Some of them are as base and up as connecting and becoming part of the provincial league to be able to qualify. Some of these groups have everything that they need, but they're missing one little logistical click. And some of them, are as deep as there might be a product development TDF that needs to be applied for to be able to unlock being able to be part of a provincial circuit. So, I know it's only been a month, but you do have people who are on vacation or we haven't been able to coordinate. But right now, I'm just in the process of connecting with those 6 and having some deeper conversations of what we could be looking at to apply for to the board in the new year, hopefully in Q1. So that's a quick brief overview. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them, or if anybody wants to fire me an email afterwards, that's great too.
Awesome, thanks, Josh. Does anyone have questions for Josh with regards to the sport mixer? Travis with regards to the tourism updates? Should I have the tasks that we're gonna still?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're good there, we will move into the full financial update.
Sorry, I messed up my chair. I'm just trying to-
Recliner.
This is like symptomatic of my day so far.
You don't have to see, I feel much better now. I'm watching.
Now I'm like, rich. I give up, I'm going home.
I'm sure I thought maybe you were going back.
Yeah, pretty close to that.
Bookkeeping and financial services, do you wanna, we don't have a lot other than,
No.
um,
We do have draft financial statements, which for last year, so there, we still have, there's still some stuff we have to sort.
okay, so I think at the next meeting, we'll be able to do the draft financial statements, get those approved, and then, the transition, I think, is really where we're focusing right now, on
Yeah.
the transition to the new bookkeeping. There's a pretty big scope of work on that one. Yeah, we just awarded the contract this, the speaker last week.
Last week I had a preliminary conversation with Criddle about information that's needed to do that transition. So,
So moving on to the next agenda item is new business, group tours 2023 updates.
Well,
Elena?
That'll be me, yeah. The original intent was to have Caitlin Stoneman come last month to do a presentation on everything that she's done in relation to group tours. Caitlin has now started her maternity leave. So she's off for the year. We'll be looking to fill that position. But she left me with some quite detailed notes, just to bring everybody up to speed on the group tours and the group tour season. Talking specifically about the Agua Canyon Tour Train. This year, there were, and these numbers will all shake out a little bit because the season just ended, but this is what she had as of August. September, there was 123 different groups booked on the train, totaling group ticket sales of just shy of 8,000 tickets. We did get a bit of an update from the tour train for their season for ticket numbers. Overall ticket sales for the train this year were just higher than 28,000 tickets, 28,360. So the group tour numbers represent, as of the time of this, when she had done it in August, it was about 30% of the total ticket sales for the train.
and sorry if I just jump in for a sec. So those numbers, I know there was a washout in 2018, but they reflect the same numbers that were of passengers in 2018. And just off, I think 2019 was about 29,000. So a really strong year.
Exactly, I didn't tell you that because she's got it on this paper here. In 2019, for groups, there's 187 different groups totaling just over 9,000. This is just over 9,000 tickets. Sold in 2022, which was the first year coming out of COVID. There was 4,460 tickets sold. So we are on the right trajectory, which is really what we're looking at is where that trend is, and it is continuing to go up, which is what we want to see. Caitlin worked really hard on putting together some different itinerary options for our marketplaces. So just as a quick recap, we attend Rendezvous Canada, American Bus Association, Ontario Motor Coach Association marketplaces, where we go and we pitch Sault Ste. Marie as a proposed destination for group tour operators, and we give itinerary options. So she worked on expanding out those itinerary options to try and extend the stay of some of the groups, including different, different options, including the Lake Superior Coastal Drive, Miss Marie Lock Tour Boat. There's a variety of different things that she put into these itineraries and was actually quite successful. She's had a few tour operators reach out for the next season, looking to add in another day, extending their itineraries. So not many, but there was 3 of them as of this year that are looking at doing that. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. I will send everybody this update. It's quite lengthy, but it does give some really good detail as to the groups and what the group tour market is looking like. She will be off now for the year. We'll be reposting the position to try and have somebody come in and fill that seat. So hopefully we can keep this momentum going. In the meantime, our staff will be continuing. Tara will be helping to take the lead right now, in Caitlin's absence, to keep the group tours kind of underway and kind of close up this season and look at what we're doing for next season for them.
So who's gonna be going to the three conferences or whatever you want to? Trade shows?
It'll be Tara.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So Tara is quite familiar with this portfolio. She covered for it before when we were looking to fill after Lindsay left the position and after Tracy left the position. So she's got a very good relationship with a lot of these operators, very comfortable with the itinerary and the attractions. So she'll be attending those marketplaces, but she'll be working in unison with the new person that's coming in to fill that seat. It's just a matter of training overlap. So ABA and OMCA are in December and January. So there's not enough training time to have somebody new come in, be trained and ready to go to the marketplaces. So she'll be doing those, and then come rendezvous, we'll see who's able to go there. It'll be myself and whoever the new person is.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Elena. Bonsu 2024 presentation.
Okay, so we have Curtis McDermott, who's the president of the board of bonds. He's gonna come in, Josh will get, and we'll do an official introduction.
Go back to the tours for a little bit. I know I mentioned it before about the issue with Canada being on the do not touch your Chinese tour business. I don't know. But I've been trying to nose around to see if I can find anything on it. I don't know.
Whether it's been restricted, so,
Well, I know still.
Yeah.
100%.
yeah.
It's just whether like if there's some sort of, I don't know if there's the government puts stuff on that kind of thing where they can know if they made progress in the diplomacy stages of doing that kind of thing.
Ian McMillan would be a great resource site. He is overseeing all of the group tour international marketplace. So he's the one who's a lot of the advocacy. I reach out to him, she had her great.
Yeah.
I haven't heard personally, I haven't heard.
Oh, yeah, you said just thought that, you know, if whoever is doing it, if we as a tourism organization and our support,
Yeah.
you know, trying to say, hey, this is an important thing that you need to focus on.
There's three things that impact those tour members a lot higher, and that's one, the country.
Yeah.
The other one is train operator and their willingness to work with tour operators. And then the other is condition, the quality of the experience, which is, I'm sure you'll find out, when you go on.
We do, we do. I do think that we've been able to move the dial in terms of the booking process for the operators. I have, in reading and talking to Caitlin, she has not had much negativity this year in terms of group tours being able to book and the relationship. In fact, I know a lot of them are already able to book for next year, which is a step ahead of the game of where we were before. So
That's the big ones. It's the little ones that are getting in trouble
okay,
because they won't
let the little ones book. Okay.
they can't afford to pay off. So to talk about.
Okay, noted.
Excellent. Well, Curtis, welcome.
Hi.
I understand that you're here to give us a bit of a presentation with regards to Bonsu 2024.
And hopefully it's up there and hopefully it's big enough that I can see. Oh, perfect. It's big. Josh told me I can sit right up front, which is just what I need for my eyesight. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Curtis McDermott. I was elected to be president of the Bonsu Winter Carnival as of this spring. So grab the next slide there. We'll do a quick recap of our 2023 and then into our plans for 2024 festival. So quick little background, I'm sure everybody knows Bonsu, but it was established in 64, we are entering our 61st year this year. So last year was our 60th revival. Does anybody need me to go through the whole history of Bonsu, the name and everything? Move on. I'm a pretty casual guy, so. So we go on to the next slide there, please. I'm so used to having a remote. It's nice to be So leading up to 2023, as everybody can understand, COVID-19 wreaked havoc on all festivals, all events, particularly Bonsu. There was 2 years worth of no events, and even a prior year where there was hesitation with lockdowns hitting in March, with the festival happening in February. So there was really 3 directly affected years from COVID-19. So the board of directors of Bonsu had limited capacity to rebuild the event, volunteer burnout, depleted funds, loss of sponsorships during those years, etc. Bonsu is solely funded through our button sales and our sponsorships. And the festival is a volunteer base, and for the past 4 years have been led entirely by volunteers with no paid staff. With such a limited capacity to keep us afloat, with reduced programming trajectory even further, assistance was required for our 2023, our past year. I always have a hard time. I'm going to screw up the years. I'm telling everybody because it starts. We planned 2024 in 2023, and it's right at the beginning of the year. So forgive me if I screw up 2023 and 2024 a couple times here. So in November, tourism put together, committed $75,000 to helping revive the carnival and help put together a advisory committee or a steering committee for the revival. So next slide. So we're going to get into these more in depth in the next slides, but our overall goals were to increase our button sales, increase our sponsorships, grow our volunteer base, increase programming, create a plan for financial sustainability, recruit new volunteers and nominate a new board of directors, improve our marketing and our reach within both Ontario and Michigan, increase our overall community spirit and pride, and assess the opportunity for increasing visitation and tourism to Sault Ste. Marie. Next slide, please. So our button sales, our #1 goal, or our first goal rather, was to increase our button sales. Bonsu saw a steady decline with years leading up to COVID, and obviously a decline with COVID for button sales. And it's happy to say that we had exceeded all of our expectations from our steering committee for last year's button sales. We had 14 locations across the city. And for the first time ever, we had 3 locations that accepted debit as a form of payment. Prior to this, it was cash only for all transactions. We're also looking forward to this year implementing a full POS system. So even at our gates, you'll be able to pay with debit or credit. Next slide, please. If I'm going too fast, anybody slow me down. If I'm going too slow, tell me to hurry the hell up. Excuse my language. Our goal #2 was to increase our sponsorship. So we introduced a goal to increase $20,000 of more sponsorship, and that was achieved. We revamped our entire sponsorship package. We diversified our revenue sources and partnerships. We made an additional tier of a premier sponsor and signed Tenaris up for that. And we do have them under lock for this year as well. In addition to our new sponsorship, Bonsu is thankful for our longtime title sponsor, Ontario Lottery Corporation, OLG. And Bonsu was also the recipient of several donations provided by our small business community as well. Next slide. So volunteer recruitment. This was massive last year, our volunteer base in comparison to many years prior. As you can see from the photo, we absolutely packed Northern Superior Brewing. It was standing room only when we had a call out. We had over 100+ volunteers show up, and they logged 900+ hours for our event last year. We also introduced a volunteer tier for businesses to participate, and we had 13 businesses participate as part of our volunteer program. We've already started recruiting on our website for volunteers this year. Our forms live for it, and we have our first recruitment event for later this month booked. Next slide. Our next goal was to improve and expand upon our programming. So we expanded to include multiple zones downtown, from the machine shop, Northern Superior Bush Plane Museum, and Clerk Park. This year, Clerk Park and the downtown plaza will be utilized as our secondary zone. We streamlined our programming to produce more quality, cohesive product. We developed planning alternatives for weather dependency. That's obviously been a big thing for past years for Bonsu, is we don't necessarily have the winters that we've always had before. So we started last year, we're expanding into this year, making sure that our programming is as diversified as possible with interior options for those days. So that we always, our outdoor events are partnered with indoor events as well. So we always have a contingency plan there. We've enhanced programming to appeal to all our age groups. So from young families, post-secondary, and 35 plus. And we're working on deepening our multicultural programming, which both acknowledges our nation's Indigenous heritage and represents our community as a whole. Next slide. Our next goal was to create a plan for financial stability. So we made great strides in this over the past year. Bonsu was able to pay off all of our outstanding accumulated debt from our years prior. We re-engaged with some previous sponsors. We've sourced new ones as well. We've diversified our revenue streams through our sponsorship package. We've established mutually beneficial partnerships, engaged with professional financial services to have our records review. We have an accountant that we're working closely with right now. We've been in communications with the CRA to best work on mitigating outstanding issues from previous years. We're working on significantly improving our record keeping system. We've got some great people on our executive this year that have been putting in brand new policies and procedures for our bookkeeping, for our record keeping minutes and everything. And we are steadily working towards being ready to put proposals forward for provincial and federal grants. Next slide. The next goal we had last year was to recruit a full complement of board directors. There was a full review of the positions and responsibilities that was undertaken. We've retained 2 of our longstanding board members, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's close to 40 years experience between those two members. So we have an excellent lineage to pass Bonsu, as well as lots of new members on the board. We introduced some updated board positions with the accompanying duties and responsibilities. We had public called interests for our recruiting, selected a brand new board with a very diverse skill set. We have a formalized meeting schedule now, and we have official minute books being taken care of. Our subcommittees are taking care of their minutes and everything as well. The new Bonsu board directors, we've been meeting regularly since we were appointed in April. We've met at least every month as a full board, several meetings with our subcommittees, and we are moving to 2 meetings a month as a full board going forward as the festival approaches. Next slide, please. So speaking of our 2023 to 2025 board of directors, since that we have our executives made up of myself as president, Michael Delson as treasurer, Linda Crockford is our vice chair. She's one of our returning members, and Julia Dufour is our secretary. We also have Sarah Skagen, Rachel Rankin, Jarrett Succession, Michaela Legg, Amelia Morris, and Ashley McMillan as directors, and our past chair is Jeannie White, who had been running the festival prior to me. As I spoke to before, we've appointed several subcommittees to help handle the workload. Subcommittees are finance, branding, marketing, social media outreach, events, board governance and policy, communications, newcomer student engagement, and grant writing and alternative revenue. Next slide. So our goal of marketing and promotion to increase the awareness of the Bonsu Winter Carnival, diversified marketing presence locally for all age ranges. We purchased media buys to attract regional tourists. We engaged with local audience through live social media activities. I'm sure everybody saw Josh's face last year on the Facebook Lives. We created a visual presence in our publications, including the visitor guide. Directed digital visitors to our newly constructed Vaughan Sioux website. So that was one of our undertakings last year, was to go through and completely rebuild our website and digital presence. We recruited some local ambassadors to help share Vaughan Sioux posts and information. We sourced some media sponsorships. And best of all, we were nominated for provincial award last year and created some heightened awareness for the festival. Next slide. So the funding that Vaughan Sioux received from tourism. So in 2022, Tourism Sault Ste. Marie provided funding in the amount of $75,000 as part of a longer-term commitment to the Vaughan Sioux Winter Carnival. So a letter of understanding was signed indicating terms of the funding, and there was proposed breakdown for that funding. So there's $20,000 towards visual presence, $3,000 towards directional signage, $7,500 towards lighting, $7,500 towards our technology, which includes that point of sale system that I was speaking about. $10,000 to go towards bump side construction and improvement, $5,000 towards photo and video assets that we can use, create some more stock images, $10,000 towards enhanced programming, and $5,000 towards merchandise. Next slide. Is that just a repeat of the slide before? So yeah, overall in our goals, we were successful in many of our goals that we set forward for the 60th anniversary. We did see our increased button sales. I definitely saw increased community spirit. In terms of our button sales, we sold out last year. All button sales we sold out of, all ski passes we had sold out of. We put in extra orders in. We were creating passes on business cards by the end of it. So it's safe to say that we completely exceeded all expectations of our sales for our 60th anniversary. We increased our sponsorship, and we had secured that brand new sponsorship tier with Tenaris. We increased and diversified our programming. We brought in programming such as the Polar Rush competition came in last year. We brought in the Sentimentalists for a show. We expanded our footprint into our 3 zones, slowly trying to expand across the entire downtown of Sault Ste. Marie. We increased our volunteers by over 80%, paid back our outstanding debts that we owed, reconnected with previous supporters, previous sponsors, business connections. And the 2023 organizing committee, we're extremely proud that we were able to help revive the festival last year. Next slide. So going into our 61st year this year, here's our goals and the priorities that we're setting forward. Our hope is to exceed our 60th anniversary in button sales. We saw that huge revival of the festival last year, huge community spirit behind it. We're hoping to really build off that with our social media channels, build off the community relationships that we repaired last year and exceed our 60th anniversary. We're hoping for a larger public presence leading up to the festival. We are working with the Greyhound to take over the game. We've starting to plan marketing events for pre-festival this year as well to make sure that there is as much awareness as we can have. We are looking at our online purchasing options for admissions. So not only point of sale at the gates, but we are also looking at ways for people to be able to purchase right on our website for their passes. We've improved our we're hoping to improve merchandising with better accessibility and purchase options. We're hoping to have our own stock this year, as well as online sale for merchandising and swag. Continue with regular scheduled meetings, very detailed records, working on making sure we have policies and procedures in place, putting a big emphasis on making sure that we have proper transition of roles as new board members come in. Be financially compliant with all provincial funding applications and be ready for financially compliant and ready for provincial funding applications by 2025. And a big push to reaching further out in Ontario and further out into Michigan with our marketing. Next slide. So that brings us to the request. So right now we are requesting from Tourism Sault Ste. Marie an amount of $75,000 for the 2024 Winter Carnival. So 25,000 of that is to support a larger vision of presence, beautification downtown, lighting that is being put forward. This is to create more Instagrammable moments, more social media moments, a visual presence of lighting downtown for the festival. This is to take part in our Clerk Park and our downtown plaza area. And we are also seeking $50,000 to work towards more of a visual presence and creating some more long-term assets for Bon Sioux to have in terms of our visual presence downtown, to make sure that when you enter downtown Sault Ste. Marie, whether you are coming in from the east, coming in from the north, or coming in over the border, when you head downtown, there will be absolutely no mistake in that there is a festival going on that year. That is one of the biggest, the biggest areas of improvement that we saw this year that we need to make. We need to make sure that we have 3 zones downtown. We need to make sure that when you are downtown Sault Ste. Marie, you know that there is a festival going on now. I believe that is the last slide, or is there another slide there? That's it. Okay.
Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Curtis?
I have a question in the comment if I can.
Yeah.
The one thing I didn't see, because I read the presentation prior to, and I know I'm understanding of the fact that last year was kind of the re-kickoff. So, I don't know if there's a plan moving forward to track out of town visitation, or be it, I mean, you may have some options, people buying buttons online or anything.
So absolutely. So based on just our digital alone, with our website, we can track where people are coming from, where our traffic's coming from. Also with an online purchasing system on it, you do have more regional data available where the purchases are being made from. In terms of that, it's definitely something we need to look into, be able to track out of town visitors. Elena, just.
No, go ahead, that's something to add after you done.
Okay, no, that's it. Yeah.
I think, my understanding in working with Bon Sioux for the last couple of years now is that we have to kind of build a base of programming that will attract people from out of town, give them a reason to come for something. And I think year 1 and 2, and possibly heading into year 3 is going to be doing exactly that, kind of building that base on the bottom. So that then we, as like through our efforts from marketing a tourism product, we have to give them something to come to. So right now, I don't think that we're attracting a lot of people from out of town. So we know that the idea is to build this festival up so that it can then become something that people will want to travel to. So the data I don't think is really existing.
Well, I figured as much, right? It's a
Just
reason.
to save you, like, we're not going to say that there's
Right,
loads of
right.
people coming in here. We know there's not. But going forward, there absolutely needs to be a plan to look at, as we build this, how do we capture the visitors that are here and how do we then market it to increase that number?
So, and it just add to what Alana says, yeah, maybe there's not a lot of people yet, but, I know we had conversations throughout last winter, I was dealing with Science North on a number of issues, and some of their staff were gonna come up to Search Found and, decided that they were gonna spend a bit longer, come earlier, I think it was, because of Bon Sioux. So we know, may not be a driver, it's definitely a trip enhancer at this point. We'd like to make it a driver. I think the word is getting out more. And then I actually need to follow up with Jeff on this, but I've been talking to a few groups about some of the data that we can collect digitally off of cell phones. Some of them are indicating that they can even pull up numbers specific to festivals and events. I need to do more due diligence, and I'm going to rely on Jeff for his expertise on this, but that could be another area where we actually are collecting some of that data through information we want anyways.
Yeah, I would definitely say, yeah, to that point, it's definitely still, the festival was revived after year. It's definitely still in a build a foundation stage, build a product that will appeal to reach further in our next 2 or 3 years moving forward.
And I guess just to add my comment is, if I can have Bonsu stuff that I can make available at my hotel. Be it a display. I know Bush Plane did a fancy pants big display at one time. People would ask me about it, right? 'Cause,
Yeah,
like, you know, they'd see about it and they'd ask me about it, right? So one thing that I can do it so that I can say, like, you know, like our staff is pretty good about telling people. You know, when they ask what's going on, they go check out some of the Bonsu events or whatever it is. But it'd be handy to, you know, be able to display it to even force people to ask about Bonsu specifically.
Right.
So it's one way I think that, speaking for myself anyway, that I can help to, promote out of towners that may be traveling through, spending the night to engage in some of the activities.
Ask a question?
Yeah.
No, I just have a question. What would be best for you? Would it be brochures? Would it be a banner? Would it like, I'm just thinking from a space setup, what would be the best for a hotel?
You have a lot more room than I did.
That question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But
But
yeah,
no brochures. please.
No.
The world of brochures.
So for me, in my mind, I see, because we don't have big ones, is doing obviously some sort of like having like Bonsu for specific items, like obviously do red and white, do whatever, you know what I mean? But something that's gonna drive a conversation when they walk in and like, what's going on here? Like, what is this or what is
So
that?
what is it, like a window plane? Is it a pull-up banner?
Stand
Any of the above?
I was gonna say, that's not.
Merchandise?
either that or like, yeah, like, you know, if I can, you know, buy t-shirts that I can make my staff
Yeah.
wear at the
Yeah.
front desk, for example.
Yeah.
Or something, like something that gives me something that people see, they see the guy, they ask about it, they see what's going on, you know, because they don't see it. You only see it leading up to the event, for example. I put my finger on it. Like, yeah, like I said, I know, I'll go back to the Bush Plane thing. They had this thing where it worked like a window shade, right? You pull it up and, you know, it just had a, whatever, nice artwork and stuff like that. You know, I put it right by the door, didn't take up a lot of space and people would see it and ask about it. So yeah, whether it's a combination of things and whatnot, it's just something that you know,
Have some visual presence when you walk.
100%,
Absolutely.
just to help you with the idea of, you know, being out there and being a visual thing.
Couple things coming from the resort world. Those banner ups need to be here, not in the winter. They need to be here in the summer. They need to be here in the November hockey tournaments, promoting it for February.
Right.
Having it the week of, they're already here. Yes, it's gonna help them go down and enjoy it, but if you want them to come back, you gotta have them up in the summer when there's other events.
Right.
So that will help drive that a little bit. I guess my concern if we're building a foundation here is this will be $150,000 we've put into this foundation. Are we looking for another 75 next year? And you got to get an awful lot of hotel rooms to pay off $150,000, $300,000, $200,000 worth of investment. So this foundation better have a future of drawing people to Sault Ste. Marie if it's going to take that big of, because this is a city event, really great event. So glad to see it up and alive again. But to take 150 grand of MAP money with a foundation and a plan for it to drive rooms is a little frightening. It really, that should be, the city should put that money in, not tourism. But it's kind of doing the same. So just kind of had to say that, but so I guess my comment is from a strategic point of view, you've got goals. I think market goals for 24 would be better than generic goals, but I don't know that you could write them last year because it was the first year. I would suggest you have more specific targets this year. And I think that that should include a bit longer plan if you're going to ask for tourism dollars as to how that's going to drive heads and beds, because that's where the money comes from, heads and beds, right? So whether we find a way to partner or time it out with one end of that Bonsu having a sporting event, which could bring people.
The hockey tournament is bookended on me, but yes.
Yeah, there's some issues with that, but anyway, with that. So anyway, I just, it's a lot of money at the tourism coffers. That's especially if the long-term plan is to ask for 75 every year, because this year is 2, which 2 is a trend.
So, I mean, I'm just gonna pipe in for 2 minutes. So, yes, I agree with you. 100%. But I mean, I think, you know, and this, you weren't here. It's not your commitment, you know, 100%. But when we met with the previous board, the vision was, and I know you looked at this, but probably still disagree. So, you know, we needed to put some money behind it to really try to make it that. And I think 100% our team's goal is to make it a tourism event. It needs some serious heavy lifting to do so. I think that, you know, the intent, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of Landowner Curtis here, but the intent is obviously to reduce the ask on a go forward basis. To me, this is, you know, when we look at the strat plan, you know, what's going to come out of it. I think during the workshop, everybody was like, we need an event that's going to bring 1,000 people plus every quarter. We need those events to be homegrown. This is one of the ones that we identified as a potential best bet for that. We got to work our asses off. Hopefully we can make it happen. But I think, you know, we'll know fairly soon once we start collecting those digital metrics, whether or not we're seeing a positive trend or not. And if not, you know, certainly the board can step away from its support. But I think to get it over this next hurdle, you know, I think a show of support in this manner is appropriate. And I think we are gonna, you know, definitely. I was out over meeting with some staff on the Sioux Michigan side, and you know, they were talking about how great Sioux is and how, you know, they're starting to see more recognition of it on the Sioux Michigan side. So hopefully that means a little bit of market penetration that we can build upon. You know, we're starting to see a lot more private sector partners step up, and you know, if that's the case, and if they step up more to a higher dollar value, maybe the board can step back even sooner. So,
And also follow up on that thought, what's missing, what's the missing link here for not being able to apply for provincial or federal funding at this stage in the game?
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of things that might talk. I don't want to take the whole point center, but one of the things that's missing is when we talk about this year-over-year commitment is you got to be cognizant of the fact that going into last year was a 0.5 and not a first year commitment. There were so many logistical hurdles to kind of jump through that I can't even think of it as a year one, right? So one of the things is that Curtis identified in the slides, we're making sure that that all of our finances were in place with this account that we're working with.
Just remember you're on camera, so they're looking at your back.
Oh, I'm sorry. They can't look at me.
It's okay.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. Yeah, what I did want to speak to was that there was a myriad of years that we had to submit, you know, to the CRA. So we're in line and ready to do that, but you need 2 years of clean audited books before you apply for the federal and provincial funding, right? So by this time next year, it should be in line, right? Yeah. But we need some stopgaps to get us through that. One of the things I did want to say, and I know it's small hanging fruit, but to address that point, is we have, you know, a headline concert. We're bringing the Polar Rush back. You know, our button sales, if you're ordering online, it's all small, but these are data points that we can start collecting to see who are purchasing these buttons from where. And even just last week as a tourism liaison, you know, we met with some marketing opportunities and making sure that we're being cognizant of regional marketing and Michigan marketing this year, which is something that we could barely do last year. But we're still at a point where we're surviving off of the kindness of friends, and we're getting there. But I did want to at least address that live point.
Is the scheduling close to the I-500? Picture the, because I know I-500 is usually what the one.
Last year was really close. This year, I'm not sure. I had a calendar, but I have no electronics upstairs. So yeah, I don't know when that. It's a great question.
And so just to close the loop on my points, which thank you, Travis, for the history, makes perfect sense. I guess we're getting to a point where maybe Bond Soup Committee looks like you got a solid board, can actually do a bit of a 5-year plan. And then I'd be far more comfortable seeing what that looks
Yeah,
like.
so-
Hey, that's what it involves, that's where you're going for, and then it kind of makes more sense.
Yeah, our board conference started April 30th. We all got appointed, so we're still a fairly new board in that matter. Out of, I believe, 10 people on the board right now, 8 of those are brand new. And there's lots of discussions about long-term plans, long-term goals, making sure that, especially as boards transition, that there is a proper transfer of power between those board positions from one president to the next or one secretary to the next. It's a lot of back end work that needs to be put into that foundation, not just to the actual event itself, but to the administrative aspect of it.
Long-term success.
Yeah.
comes from that.
Well, and also being cognizant of the fact that if you're gonna run, and there are people around the table that are aware of this, if you're gonna run these events, you never pack them back up. You know, they're always out, and this is a methodology that wasn't necessarily, you know, the old board had capacity for that. But they're aware of it now, and the other thing is planning in tandem. When we're making bookings for 2024, is this a thing that's always perennial in Bonsu's programming? Well, then let's book what does 3 years look like in a contract as opposed to 1 year. So being cognizant of those pieces while we work towards a grander scheme of understanding.
And I think that some of the intention was some of those events that would draw, you know, people to come for that event and then participate. in
That's the way that, in my opinion, that's the way that you're going to get people here. Bonsu is, you know, it will always be a community-driven event. There's an anchor within that that attracts people from out of town who then get the reward of Bonsu and the festival, and that's part of the longer-term plan of building those anchor pieces in. We did do a partnership last year with Runway Park to look at that because they have their drag races. We had it so that they moved it and it fit perfectly within the opening or closing weekend of Bonsu, so that we have people coming in from out of town to participate in drag races, and then in turn, Kurt came and they got a button for Bonsu, participated in Bonsu. It helped kind of a win-win. So those partnerships I think are important for sure. And I know it's probably already understood, but the intention has always been to lean off support from the tourism funding. That was the approach last year. This year, the intent originally was to look at, you know, a reduced amount, but Bonsu just has been financially ruined over years. They're basically coming into it at ground zero. They paid off their debt last year. This year, they're starting at ground zero. You can't plan a festival on ground zero. You have to be able to get some of that money in the bank to be able to provide product and from creative presence that will then hopefully spur the private sector sponsors to continue to come on board.
Is there a partnership agreement with Searchville?
Yeah, absolutely, and we have an event inside of our draft events.
I mean, that seems to me like that would be a great opportunity to joint market.
Yeah, Search Mountain and Hiawatha, on the Lantern Ski, there's definitely different events in there that we can throw out that people will travel for. Flat tire race?
Yeah.
You ready?
I got the fat part covered. Just
Get
need
a
some tires.
Goes electric as well.
On Elena's note, though, even things that the committee reviewed to enhance, right? I mean, we moved the polar bear dip to, you know, the Bush Plane Museum. You know, we had a Bonsu brew, we had a concert there, you know, we had plans to even put that on steroids even more. And that was in a massive way of just looking at the things that have always been there, but how can you make it more like a festival atmosphere? And I think that was really achieved last year. So those kind of pieces too.
Which is all strategic, right? Like it's all part of moving those pieces so that in 3 to 5 years you're set up.
Lovely. Nick, do we have anything comment wise with regards to Bonsu? No, okay.
I just I'm on the same page as Kevin, 100%. But I also see the need for this to be a pillar of our winter season. And I understand, I mean, I don't know if I'm a noob here anymore or not, 9 years in now, but I've never seen anything like I did last year with this Bonsu Carnival that I had heard about when I started working in Sault Ste. Marie. Oh, it used to be the greatest thing ever. It used to be so awesome, but now it's fallen off and nobody even knows when any events are or anything. Like, I got excited last year, leafing through the program every single day, looking for what maybe I could go do and attend and try and support. So the board and the people in charge of this thing, Kevin, I think they're all in, and I know that they do need our support again the second year, and I'd be behind it for this one. But ultimately, yeah, we want room nights in February, that's for sure. And I think they're starting a groundswell for what could be something really big down the road. So I appreciate everything Josh and Curtis are doing, and I know our hotel's already committed to some sponsorships with them as well this year, and we're looking forward to being a part of it again.
Thanks, Nick. Any other comments from around the table before we move away from this one? Okay, well, thank you for joining us today, Chris. And thank you for all your efforts in revitalizing and bringing passion behind this event again.
Thanks for hearing me out. It's looking like it's gonna be a really big year.
While you're walking out, I'm gonna give you this one plug. Curtis is also very knowledgeable in blue collar work. So when it came to setting up sandbags around the site, when he just brought his trailer or his loader or
I think I
whatever,
brought the tractor over yet.
that was really nice.
It's nice that the president running the winter carnival also can drive a loader and tractor when need be.
Okay, Curtis, thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Kurt.
Outstanding business, we have the delayed strategic plan update, or is the update that they're gonna update us? Well, thank you for the update.
Yes, yeah, I've hammered both of those out. I don't know if you noticed, but I was super efficient earlier in the meeting.
I thought you were running the meeting.
Yeah.
When are you gonna confirm when we get, gonna do this?
Okay.
Hopefully, or did you get the
Clark,
response?
so I was just checking to see, Clark is available October 30th and 31st at noon. And can make November 3rd work too. So I guess it's could be up to the board to choose any of those 3 dates. For
Yeah.
presentation.
So if you like, we can either decide on that now, or we can send out a Google poll for people to fill out, but it'll be a Monday or a Tuesday. at noon.
I'll tell you that Tuesdays are always better for me than Mondays.
I have something on the Tuesday, but I can't remember.
Yeah.
I'm good for either one,
Yeah.
but
I
Mary
just
won't
got
allow me
it
to do the both, so.
Okay.
Just have to take my word for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to do a tentative date of October 31st at noon?
Because the
Tuesday? Good. Looks like we have Nick, Levine, October 31st noon. Okay.
Wear your costume.
Was there anything further on the management agreement?
Other than, we're gonna present a copy, well, I sent out a copy earlier today, I was trying to print the hard copy.
Do you want to put it up on the screen? Tara has it.
I don't know, but it's,
The
I think
only thing
it's-
that's changed in it is the removal of the bookkeeping.
Financial?
yeah. So, and then
Circulating copy, or did you?
It would have come
came out
before the meeting.
they're very late, my apologies on that one.
We do have a resolution on it today though, so.
If you want to see.
Yeah, can we just throw it up quick?
It has to go before council too, right?
It would, I would be uploading it for October 30th, which means I've got to upload it by the end of this week.
Tara, do you want to just very slowly kind of scroll it down a little bit?
I mean, the nuts and bolts of the agreement is that
Okay, Stop there.
it sets out, you know, Tourism Sault Ste. Marie is the eligible entity to manage its portion of the municipal accommodation tax. It identifies that Tourism Sault Ste. Marie does not have any staff, and that the city will be providing staff to support Tourism Sault Ste. Marie, which is what we're doing here. And then some of the administrative functions that we, the city will provide in terms of, you know, kind of project management, assistance, at least now with staff, our staff on procurement, scheduling of meetings, advancing projects, etc. And what we did this time you can keep scrolling, please, Kara, is, I think we all understand that the city has removed support for financial services because I think they underestimated the,
This right here.
Their ability. Oh,
yeah. Yes.
That was it.
So now we have a new section 1.1, which just dictates that, tourism through Savory will be taking on that responsibility through third party. The agreements, is up for renewal every 3 years. So this one will cover a 3-year period. That board will have an opportunity to review it again at that time, and then, ideally enter into the agreement on an ongoing basis, so long as it's serving everyone well.
I think it might be important too to add, because there's new members around the board that weren't here when the first agreement was drafted. It did go through a legal vetting. It was back and forth and it went through legal vetting on both sides. So the language that's in there was approved language coming into
On both sides.
on both sides.
Yeah, it was a rather extensive process.
Was Joe involved?
Yes.
Yeah. It was Joe, Richard, myself, and our legal. Took all of about a week to.
I thought we hired a lawyer too.
You did.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all of the language
Not Joe.
remains the same, which just
Yeah,
to spare all the little details.
It was quite a.
yeah, my Fabio locks were just falling off at the time. Yeah,
Thanks, Tara.
Do we have any concerns with moving forward with it today so that Travis can go forward with it? I think everybody has seen it at some point as well. TDF applications, we have got 2 of them on the table here. Let's start with Battle Under the Bridge.
You know what? I'm actually gonna, since Josh
It's
is
played.
here this week, yeah, he's been working with both these groups, so I'm gonna have him present.
Absolutely. Battle on the Bridge. This is a 2-day tabletop miniature teams tournament. If anyone's familiar with this kind of gameplay, you can think, Dungeons and Dragons, but 2024 with little miniatures. This event is interesting because it's a piece that we don't currently have in our portfolio at all when it comes to sports and special events. And a few reasons why we're looking to support it are essentially because, one, they outgrew their previous venue, which is a great identifier of growth with people from out of town inside of that venue. And 2, because there's actually a gap in Northern Ontario for this tournament play. There was a tournament held in Sudbury, which has been canceled due to the individuals who spearheaded the committee to run that tournament having moved. So the interest is still there, but there's a gap. It's a small economic impact. Right now, we're looking at 96 out-of-town visitors over 2 days for an economic impact of $28,000. But what the organizers have done in order to promote the event is they have contracted 3 different streaming personalities online to both promote the event leading up to, but also be in attendance during the event and live stream on their platforms as well. So it's a good opportunity to capture some content, for next year's festival, for advertising, but also great leading up to the event. So with that being said, the gap in the programming demonstrated growth, and the fact that we don't have anything like this. I mean, we worked with NerdCon a few years ago, and since then we haven't really been able to find that kind of hobbyist or enthusiast event. Staff is recommending that we give a tourism development fund in the total of $2,500 for AV requirements for the live streaming and the contracts with these personalities, as well as marketing.
Question. When you mentioned NerdCon, because I figured that would be a good part of NerdCon to have a tournament like this. I had a staff member that was that stuff, so I learned over the years how passionate the folks that participate are in this activity.
For sure.
But I thought, because I know we have supported NerdCom in the past, if I'm not mistaken. So would it be a good build on to NerdCom? Because I know they're looking to kind of grow and increase their event and stuff like that.
I think when talking to them, they really have their eye landed on when they want to do it, which isn't really a place where we need to invest in. We have the train going. So I think their focus is really on a community event. They're not aggressively focused on building out into a tourism product. I mean, we can reach back out, but that's kind of where those conversations landed.
I have to tell you, it was when I first read the first page, I thought this was a bridge tournament.
So I actually think, I know a little bit more about this than I'd like to admit. I think they've underestimated, what these streamers can do. My daughter works for Twitch as a moderator, and, these, if they're good influencers, will actually wear the gear and go through the community, right? So they'll actually showcase Sault Ste. Marie like they do. The last one my daughter just did was in Germany. She wasn't there, she's here. But it's actually, if they're good influencers, will do a lot more exposure than just that.
Well, and to that point, Kevin, the original title of this or the name of the event had nothing kind of indicative about this. We're trying to workshop Michigan and Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
And so they came up with Battle Under the Bridge. It's quippy. And we had the exact same conversation about them going to some of these hobby shops and doing live streams at, the Rad Zone or
And
the Games Nook and those kind of
Games
things.
people are great. They're
Yeah.
really good. They've done a great job with that store.
Yeah.
It's really well put together, and they got their room in the back where they have games, is full all the time.
Yeah.
That's where they've outgrown, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not big enough.
No.
There's, my daughter was in Guelph last week and they had a bar rented for the entire night. So it was enough money for the bar to rent them out the bar.
Yeah, we'd love to see that grow and without anything else quite like it, I think we have some really good potential, especially with that gap in Northern Ontario.
So I think the question is that they're not interested in
Oh,
growing it.
no, I'm sorry,
No,
that
that's
was the NerdCon.
Oh,
Yeah,
NerdCon,
this is
okay,
another entity.
okay. Because I mean, I see that there's great growth potential here, so they are open to that, and that is what
That's their goal.
their
Yeah,
goal is.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why they've come to us, because they can't do it.
Yeah.
Space is big enough.
No, they a lot of keen interest in making this a annual thing.
It's a demographic that we don't really tap into in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
That 20 to 35-year-old.
100%. We've already talked to them. Curtis and his events team, they're building out, they're calling it BonCon, like Comic-Con, and they've already reached out to them to host something, promote their events during February. Yeah, so.
I think there's great vision there.
Yeah. The streaming equipment, is that something they're looking for money for to then own for the future, or is it?
Forgive me, I'm not completely versed in regards to all of their needs. I'm not a massive tech guy. I can look into that. I think they just want to make sure that they have kind of like a war room set up and make sure that they have the functionality through the water.
We want to make sure it's good enough
Yeah.
that the three influencers that are coming can properly stream it on Twitch and because that will attract an unbelievable amount, but if it's not the right stuff.
I can follow up for the clarification that the line item was just audio visual in order to.
So I guess what I'm saying is I know they're looking for 2,500, but if that, to get the right equipment to really grow it properly is more than that, I'm certainly would support it.
We can do that, and when it comes time to the resolution, you can put a caveat in there that says if there's technology that can come back to the board, because it's not until when? July, so we have time for them to revamp that and come back if that's something that like we could pass it as is, but if there's a need for more or something that we can do to invest in more of a long-term vision for them, that they still have time to come back.
There is something to be said, absolutely, but there is something to be said, technology moves so quick, you never know if we actually purchase it, or comes outdated in 13 months, so.
Yeah, I mean, this stuff isn't from that perspective, it's a risk.
Okay.
This is just making sure those streamers give their requirements, so that they can properly.
Like a writer for a musician.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll do some exploring and follow up here if need be.
Nick, Loveleen, anything from your side?
The dumb American part of me has one last question. Why is it the battle under the bridge? Wouldn't it be the battle over the bridge?
Trolls under the bridge.
But like we're on top of we're north of the bridge.
Well, we're up, that's underneath it at the machine shop, but the kind of, the bridge goes over top.
That's a fair question. I was a bit stumped. Thank you. Wasn't clever enough.
Kevin, the fire over there.
You did say that you live more than you wanted to admit to.
And I ever thought of that.
I'm looking forward to
It's a
seeing the
great
team
night.
set up.
Yeah. It's probably well. There you go.
Then we can just pass the resolution as is and put it past that Josh will report back next month.
We don't even need to put it in the resolution. We can
Yeah.
just leave that resolution, and if they need to come back for more, we can
Yeah.
just.
Yeah, you just have a conversation with them, right?
Yep,
And make sure
absolutely.
that they're,
100%, yeah.
Because it'll go, the
Yeah.
thing is, it's on the council report. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's easy to figure out.
Yeah, and I think it's when it's turned down that they have a process to come back.
I'm just thinking it would make more sense to do it all at once if there's.
Well, here's the deal. The council meeting that it'll go in will be the November 20th. If we find out that they need more money, we can handle it right after the Deloitte, like we can just.
Okay, that's perfect.
but if I'm not mistaken from you educating me in the past, we don't just give them the money, right? They provide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So could we not increase it now, but up to if necessary?
You can do up to 5,000 or whatever your number
But they
is.
all have to, they have to provide you with receipts and stuff, so it's not like you're just giving them more.
it still has to fall within the parameters of what they were asking you.
Is that even easier?
Well, it's just, let's say we bump it up $2,000 and we find out it's 10 grand. You know,
I don't think it will be.
okay, whatever. You guys are the ones that make the decision.
I mean, I
We would prefer to do this, and then I agree. Once Josh finds out what that amount is, we could probably do a resolution if we had to on.
Just,
October
you can even
31st.
just amend the original resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah, the board's in favor of support. Just need to do some fact finding. That's all.
St. Mary's Walleye Cup.
St. Mary's Walleye Cup's a 2-day walleye fishing tournament. Right now, because it hasn't been in Sault Ste. Marie for a number of years, they're anticipating somewhere between 50 and 100 boats. That happens early September 2024. What's interesting about this Tourism Development Fund application is that we did have a Walleye Cup for a significant amount of time, and it's been dormant. And this organization wants to bring it back with some strength. The economic impact we're looking at is around 150,000 plus a couple thousand more. What the organizers want to do is they want to put on a world-class event this year in hopes to submit a bid for the 2026 championship in Sault Ste. Marie. So part of this Tourism Development Fund request is to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward plus in hopes that we'll get that bid for 2026. Part of the request and part of that process is also grabbing onto an influencer, a little bit more traditional one on YouTube, part of the Canada Fishing Network, which has a monthly view of 1.8 million on their Instagram feed. As such, this is the type of group that you want to invest in. We have these conversations every month with all these different groups that, sometimes some of these applications come in from groups that are operating their event off the side of their desk and don't really have the opportunity to give what you need to put off or to execute an event that this good, right? These guys are quick, they're well organized, they're incredibly easy to dialogue with. So as such, because of these influencers' fees, because we're trying to re-engage and restart this event, because it's a great tie-in to strategic planning and waterfront development, staff are recommending that we put $6,000 behind the St. Mary's Walleye Cup. First and second tied for influencer fees and marketing and promotions. And then second, for potential fees with venue rentals or launch fees.
I saw there's a tournament across the river. How successful they will be there. So Michigan.
You know what, I did speak to them about the tournament leading up, and they were looking at somewhere between 100 and 115, I think we would have said. So hit their targets.
Okay. But that would be a good barometer as to how successful this one might be.
Absolutely.
When the Kiwanis group held the tournament here before, it's been, I think it's about 10 years ago. Wow. They had good numbers. It just came down to planning and the workload around planning, and it didn't really fit in the direction that the club wanted to go from a service standpoint. So they were putting a lot of man hours behind organizing it. So they lost the walleye tournament. So the fact that there's a group of them that want to bring it back, I think there's already been a precedent set, and it is a circuit. So it's a lot of the fishermen, anglers, one of the anglers, are registered in the circuit. So they go from place to place to place to place. We're not looking to just attract a random group. So I think that's definitely helpful in terms of confirmation of estimated numbers.
We strong airmen doing the ice fishing one. So it fills in our winter season.
Great question. Great question. Yeah.
You're laughing, but that's great.
And
We have that power, so we'll give you money because you want to see.
And
This circuit
this
doesn't run.
group that submitted is
It's
what
a-
they
What if we don't want? Believe it or not, I know more about the last. I thought pickerel was what we hear, not well.
The same.
Well, that's a whole other realm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Lovely. Nick, do we have any comments there? No. In the boardroom here, do we have anything else?
I just want to say, I love the idea. We underestimate the fishing that's on this river downtown in our city as it stands.
Absolutely.
I've learned from folks that come fishing and stuff like that. There's something like 100 species of different fish in this river that you can fish for. It's ridiculous, the opportunity that we have here downtown, right here in our city, that opportunity to connect. You know, I know last quarter we talked about, you know, why we promoting the outside area, we want people to stay. This is the type of event that gets people in the city doing an outdoor activity, a world-class outdoor activity.
And
And
people
staying
will
in the
travel
city.
for it.
100%.
People will absolutely travel to participate in these do circuit events.
Well, I did see where the Chippewa tribe from over there has a hatchery. I forget how many walleye they released, but that was 200,000 or something, huge number. Into there.
there's.
No pickerel.
We'll steal their, but it's and she's full of spring. Okay.
Okay, if we have no other questions, comments, or otherwise from around the table, we can move into the resolutions.
I did find that I had a copy of the management report that I actually printed off, so.
Oh, did-
Wants to read it, it's reading.
I know I read the draft. But it's circulated.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, I assume that nothing got changed from,
No.
Just the financial part.
is that printed off?
Okay, so the first resolution is the Bonsu Winter Carnival. The resolution reads, and be it resolved that Tourism Sault Ste. Marie approved $75,000 to support the continued revitalization of the Bonsu for the 2024 Winter Carnival. Further be it resolved that funds are to be conditional upon the signing of an agreement between Bonsu Board Winter Carnival and Tourism Sault Ste. Marie, which details the intended purpose for the funds and required reporting. Furthermore, be it resolved that the board authorizes the chair of the board to sign that agreement. Do I have a mover for
Which fund does that come on?
general development?
So our
The question on this one. Are we happy with the amount of input we have over there? Do we need to ask for board seat, or should we make a presentation on where we think tourism could fit in the future? We need to make an ask for the money.
I guess that comes down to where you guys envision.
Want to speak to that and
Well, I can
ask
speak,
Walter?
yeah,
Because I know
I
they're
can speak
involved
quick 'cause it's-
last year.
yeah, it's, you know what, I apologize because I probably should have practiced a lot of this with some content because, our staff has been intimately involved in the planning and organizing of Bonsu. Josh has dedicated, essentially 5 to 6 months of his time last year, almost full time, to helping support. So we are involved in the decision making. We do have an ad hoc seat on the board, from a staff perspective. Most of the major decisions are getting flowed through for vetting before, you know, and what we did last year with the money was they weren't allowed to spend any of that money without flowing it through us for approval. So we want to buy this out of, so we set up a separate account for the Tourism Sault Ste. Marie board money. It's in a separate account. And it sat there with the intent of if they wanted to buy something and it fit within the agreement, they came to us, we said, yes, go ahead, please proceed. So we did have a very extensive, and we'll continue to have an extensive role in how that gets managed. Because we want to set them up for success.
We had a formal agreement,
We had a formal agreement that was signed, yeah.
so.
So to your point, are we gonna have a formal agreement with the 75 if it's approved?
Yep, that's how the resolution reads.
Yeah, an agreement between Bonsu Winter Carnival and Tourism Sault Ste. Marie with the details of the intended purpose of the funds and required reporting. So I think there's a fairly strong hold on what those funds are used for and how it's putting towards that product development.
So what they're looking at this year is 25,000 of the money to go towards some sort of a lighting purchase of lighting infrastructure for down in this zone, whether it's Clerk Park, Plaza, something down in this area that creates like that Instagrammable, user-generated content, right? Where people come, they take their picture in front of it and it gets posted, and the next thing you know, it starts to spread socially. So that's a portion of the money. The 50,000 remaining is what they want to use. They want to buy pieces that people will see when they drive by. So arches that say Bonsu Winter Carnival, flags that go on the ground that have Mr. Bonsu, so that when somebody's happening to be driving around, they say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on over there? Or there's a very visible winter carnival. So one of the pieces of feedback that we've heard continually is Bonsu kind of happens in the background. People don't know about it if they're not in, you know, the digital world, or they're not getting the social media. They don't know about it. So it's creating those pieces. That's what I was asking earlier about what would hotels like to see in their property, because some of this funding can go towards creating that visual presence. So if it's banner ups, if it's posters, if it's window clings, if it's flags.
Yeah, but Kevin is correct. You need to have it ahead of time enough. It can't be the week up. Maybe you have to have that stuff ahead of time enough. So that, for example, if I'm displaying, you know, something for Bonsu.
Yeah.
I should have it in my hotel minimum, I'd say 3 months ahead of time, so that it becomes visual and people ask about it, or when is it happening, what's this and that, yeah.
Completely, totally agree. The idea is let's purchase it so that we have it to be able to do that.
Does the lighting show permanent or movable?
So it would, the idea is some sort of a piece of infrastructure. So it could be moved. They would have to be taken down at the end of the season.
Do you want to? That's my question. Like, tourists are here in the summertime, you know, would that be a draw to?
Well, that's part
Say,
of the bigger
come back
piece.
in the winter time.
Yeah,
I know you always wanted to have a light show, so.
well, yeah, and I mean, I think that, you know, when you look at the Niagara's got a, you know, winter light festival kind of building off of something like that, so I think, you know, we'd have to have that conversation. It's more appealing when it's kind of time limited. I think we need some larger light pieces, you know, particularly focused towards the US. It draws some attention to our waterfront. But that can be looked at as part of our waterfront design plan.
And there's not you know, anything saying that they can't tie in with something like Rotary. And again, make it a limited time that starts talking about that piece then, right?
Mhm.
Like the big lighting infrastructure pieces are $400,000, $500,000, $600,000. Just to put it in perspective, like a $25,000 lighting piece isn't, you're not gonna see it from the moon. Like it's,
The city, we're purchasing $100,000 worth of, like, through the city's tourism dollars of lighting this year. And, you know, like, the way that it'll work, if you want to actually build out a festival, is you're gonna have to add those pieces as years go on, because like it is insanely expensive. So, but I think that there's, with that 25K, there's enough, like we looked at some smaller pieces that are very artistic that you can kind of build out in a creative way that will drive traffic, because society is so Instagram focused, particularly the younger generation, that you will get those people there if there's some cool things to take pictures of themselves.
I think you want to see pictures of me on the internet.
I'll move.
Okay. And do I have a seconder? Don, and all in favor? And that motion's carried. Okay, our second one up for resolution is the battle under the bridge. Did we want to have a quick conversation here with regards to the dollar value? The 2,500 is what the ask was. Conversations around, we figure it might not be enough, or leave it open for further increase.
Whatever's easiest, I think. If you're gonna have a conversation with them and say, you gotta make sure that this is the right stuff.
Okay. I think I'm comfortable with that as well, as long as Josh will be reporting back with the minutes.
Absolutely.
No question. So the resolution reads, be it resolved that Tourism Sault Ste. Marie recommend a contribution of $2,500 through the Tourism Development Fund conferences and special event stream to Battle Under the Bridge, taking place July 20th to 21st, 2024, and that a report be submitted to City Council for consideration and approval. Do I have a mover for this one? Kevin? Jeff? As a seconder? And all in favor? And that motion's carried. Third on the docket is the St. Mary's Walleye Cup. Be it resolved that Tourism Sault Ste. Marie recommend a contribution of $6,000 through the Tourism Development Fund, conferences and special events stream to the St. Mary's River Walleye Cup to be held in Sault Ste. Marie, September 6th and 7th, 2024, and that a report be submitted to City Council for consideration and approval. Do I have a mover for this one? Lawrence? And Jeff as a seconder? And a vote? And that motion is carried. So the final resolution is with regards to the management agreement. Did anyone want to have any further look at the copy? We're all comfortable. Okay, so this resolution reads, be it resolved that Tourism Sault Ste. Marie Board of Directors authorize the corporation to enter into a revised management agreement with the corporation of the City of Sault Ste. Marie effective upon execution and signing and for a term of 3 years. And by doing so approves and accepts the terms, conditions, and content thereof. Furthermore, the board authorizes Beverly Barber and Richard Walker to execute said agreement. Do I have a mover for this one? Doug? And Jeff? And all in favor of the management agreement? Thanks, motion carried. That covers off all of our business to date. If you guys want to make a note of that October 31st meeting at noon with Deloitte for their presentations.
one quick thing before we adjourn.
One quick thing before we adjourn.
Okay. I just want to share with everybody, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to see it yet, it's hot off the press. Frank Sarlo, Dr. Frank Sarlo, if anybody knows him in town, He's been a long-standing community advocate and has done a lot of great work for our community. He's written a book called Sault Ste. Marie, A Special Place. It's a really great read if you want to get to really understand why Sault Ste. Marie is special in so many ways. There's a lot of interviews with different people, lots of different areas that he touches upon. So we were involved with staff, just talking about the tourism world, and there's some great pictures in there that we provided, but just want to share with everybody, a shout out to Frank and the book that he's done. You can buy it at Kohl's or you can order it online. I just wanted to bring it to everyone's attention because he often goes under the radar and people don't necessarily realize the great work that he's done. So shout out to Frank and our specialists.
Thank you very much, Amanda. If that covers off everything today, I'll ask for a mover to adjourn. Jeff, or sorry, Lawrence and Richard. And